Live in the corner. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Start It Up Smart. And I am here today and graced with the presence of Justin Cutler. He's an attorney. Yep. You get to ask an attorney questions today and you don't have to pay for it. That's never happened to me. So I'm hoping that you'll see what I'm seeing. You'll be able to ask some of those questions if you're in business. Listen, Justin is a business attorney. And he doesn't want to litigate for you. But what he does want to do is he wants to set up the basic documents and the intricate documents. He wants to set up your business structure. What are your liabilities? Make sure you have the right insurance. Make sure your hiney's covered, right? I mean, that's what Justin really does. But before I get Justin on here to start showing his brilliance, I want to talk about this Start It Up Smart event. So startitupsmart.com is where you go. Listen, folks, the tickets are $99. It'll never be $99 again. We're going to cut that shortly. That is a early adopter price of $99. And if you just go and use the code Utah 2024, that will get you that price. And if you have any problems, reach out to me, holler, send smoke signals. I don't care what you do. Text me, let me know, and we'll get you taken care of. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. We're a minute and 20 into this. And Justin, let's start talking about some legal stuff, right?
Yeah.
You want to start talking about structure or liabilities or insurance. Tell me where you want to start.
Well, a lot of my clients are small business owners, and one of the first questions they ask is my business set up correctly? Do I have the right business? Is it the right business structure?
Right.
So yeah, maybe let's start with that and kind of go from there.
So yeah, let's do that. And there's a difference, folks, between what a CPA, how he would set you up and how Justin would set you up. But, you have to listen to both, and Justin's bringing the legal structure for you.
Yeah. Yep. There's some tax differences. I don't get into that. I'm not a tax expert, but when you're starting a business or if you have an existing business, there are three main entity types to choose from that exist: an LLC, C Corp, or an S Corp.
Okay.
Now, all of these types of entities, they provide liability protection, meaning that if there is a business debt or obligation or whatnot, the owners of these entities, they are shielded from liability, assuming they're running them correctly. So, in that regard, these entities are better than like a sole proprietorship, which is basically when someone is running the business just as themselves. A basic example, I open a lemonade stand, I'm just selling it on the road. Someone gets injured from my lemonade. I'm personally liable. I'm just doing that as myself, a sole proprietorship. I'm an LLC, a C Corp, and an S Corp. If I formed one of those and I was selling it as an entity, then if someone gets injured from my lemonade, then they can sue the LLC, but they can't sue me personally. Does that make sense?
It does. And this brings up a question I have that many people, I think, have asked. And I hear it all the time. And what's up with Delaware and Nevada? Why would you set up an LLC in one of those two states? And why do people say you should do that?
Some states, they have more favorable laws to protect businesses. I think they want to attract businesses to their state so they get registration fees and whatnot. And Delaware is one of the most common states. They really favor the C Corps, the bigger corporations. So you have a lot of those companies registered there. Nevada has protections as well. Wyoming, some of them like Nevada and Wyoming have privacy protection. So it's ownership information of a business is kept private. And so sometimes forming a company there is beneficial for that reason.
Okay, and that means people can't see your name as the owner. They have to sue the entity. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it means, they don't see ownership information. So if I do a lot in Wyoming, and so sometimes what we'll do is we'll form like a Wyoming holding company, and then the holding company will own a business in Utah. Since they're in Utah, they're operating in Utah. And then that way, if anyone looks up the Utah LLC, they'll see the owner is the Wyoming LLC. But if they go to Wyoming, they can't see the ownership. And that's for people that are afraid about, they're more concerned about getting sued personally, or someone is coming after them. They want to see what assets do they have. Are they worth suing?
Oh,
and they wouldn't be able to find out that information.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yep. So, um, but regardless of the state, they all do provide liability protection to some extent. Some states more than others. Now, if you have multiple businesses, it does no good just to stack them on top of each other. Sometimes I hear that where we need multiple layers of protection.
Mhm.
That's not really needed. One one LLC provides liability protection if you're not going to get sued personally unless you're commingling personal business assets, and that's what we call piercing the veil.
Right.
Um, but so you're going to have protection there, and in adding multiple layers doesn't really give you more protection, because if your top layer is still commingling with the bottom company, they're still going to be jointly liable. So all
Right.
those layers doesn't do anything. Um, so basically, each entity, or every entity does provide its liability protection. If you have multiple businesses, they should all be separate entities. So if one gets sued, it doesn't take the other businesses down
Okay.
in a lawsuit.
Right.
They're all separate entities with separate liability, and you own them all outright, or you could do something like a holding company in Wyoming that owns all your businesses. If
Okay.
you wanted to, if you have multiple businesses, sometimes you just have one holding company that owns all your businesses.
Gotcha. So a holding company is a legal structure to hold the assets of other companies, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's usually for tax or accounting purposes. It's beneficial to have. I only own my holding company, so I only get a K-1 from my holding company, and all
Oh,
my profits from all my other businesses flow up to my holding company. Um,
okay.
but
Oh,
they're all separate entities, and so they're all separately liable for their own debts and obligations.
gotcha. Well, that's my favorite kind of income. K1. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So,
Yeah. The
uh,
least taxed.
yep.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So those are entities. Now, whether an LLC, a C corp, or S corp is preferred, most people do an LLC, especially for a new business. It's the most flexible, easiest one to work with. A C corp has more formalities. There's shareholders, board of directors. A C corp is double taxed, meaning the corporation pays taxes,
Yeah.
and then any distributions to shareholders gets taxed as well. So that's typically not one you start with. As you get bigger, you may have to go to that. And then an S corp is kind of like a C corp, but it's not double taxed, and that's only for companies that have less than 100 shareholders. And there's some other rules there. Um, and S corps, they're similar to LLCs. But they may be more attractive to investors. Typically, investors like corporations. They like being shareholders, buying shares, and so that's why you might want an S corp over an LLC.
Got it. Well, let's talk about that protection for a minute, if you don't mind, Justin. So,
Mhm.
what kind of protection do I really have if I own a business and the business is getting sued? I'm really getting sued, right?
A lot of what you put into the business is kind of at stake. So if you've contributed, $100,000 to your business, that is what's at stake, your contribution, and that's now a business asset that is subject to liability. But hopefully you have some peace of mind knowing that that's at most what you have at stake as an owner. If the business is sued, has a lawsuit or whatnot, they can't come after your personal residence or your personal cars or any of your personal assets, because there is
Right.
that shield of liability.
Okay. Got it. Okay. That makes
Now,
sense.
yeah. But there are some situations where an owner could be liable if they sign a personal guarantee on a business loan. They're obviously personally liable to the lender.
Hmm.
Um, and then one thing that happens a lot, or can happen, is if a owner is commingling their personal and business, they can be held jointly liable. So if I'm receiving income from clients that go straight to my personal bank account, that's commingling. That's a no-no. If I'm buying personal items from my business account, that's
Right.
commingling. If I'm
Right.
treating it all as one, then the courts will treat me all as one. So it's important to
Okay.
keep personal and business separate. And if you,
Right.
yeah.
And I've been in business a long time, and it's really easy to commingle. Just saying.
Very easy.
One credit card swipe away from commingling. So
I've used the wrong cards. It happens. Yeah. But as long as there's not a pattern and a serious abuse of that,
right.
you should be okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want to throw one more topic into this? Do you mind?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Well, because we're talking about liabilities, that's kind of what insurance is for, right? To kind of cover my hiney if I make a mistake, the company makes a mistake, or God forbid, I don't make a mistake, but I get sued anyway. So what is insurance really doing for me?
Well, I mean, we can set up the right business structures and have everything in place. We can have good contracts and everything like that. But what I found in I used to do litigation and be involved with lawsuits and suing and whatnot. And you just don't know. You could have the strongest case in the world and have everything set up correctly, and somehow you still lose. And or you could have a weak case and somehow win. It's really a crapshoot in the court system. Right. And so you want to have some peace of mind with some insurance to back all of this up, knowing, hey, even if I do everything right, I have the proper contracts, the proper business structure. We really don't know what's going to happen in court. A judge may not like me for whatever reason and finds me personally liable or whatnot.
Right.
If you have some insurance to back you up, that's going to help bring some peace of mind, knowing, hey, my assets are still going to be okay. The insurance proceeds are going to cover this debt, this liability first, and that's always an important part of any business.
Well, I got a question for you about insurance then. Let's go down this road just for a second. Does insurance provide legal services if there's a claim? Do they provide attorneys?
They do. A common example is with your car insurance. If you hit someone in your car and you get sued, your insurance is going to cover that, provided your policy's paid and everything like that. And the insurance company, they're going to hire their attorneys and they're going to represent you and try to negotiate, hopefully, some sort of settlement before it would even go to a trial or anything like that.
Right.
And that all is paid for by the insurance company. And so.
Okay. In business, does that work out okay in business? I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, the same principle applies to a business. So if it's like general liability insurance, and the business is getting sued for some business operation, then the same thing would apply. The insurance company is going to hire their team of attorneys to represent your business and try to negotiate some sort of settlement and try to get you out of that business lawsuit.
Gotcha. I've always been really attached to my attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
This is my guy, my defender, right?
Yeah.
And I've often thought I have insurance. And if insurance comes into play, does my attorney just get pushed out and they're in, or is there some kind of, they work together a little bit? Or
there are situations where if you do have an attorney that you work with, that you like, that you trust, the insurance company can work with them. I've seen instances of that. I don't do much litigation anymore, so that's not really my area. But when I did do that, I knew that happens. Where you can, now the insurance company, they're the one paying the bill. And so they want to make sure if you have your own attorney, they approve of your attorney and the bills aren't outrageous or whatnot, but that can happen. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That scares me a little bit. When you get attached to your attorney knows your business, and then all of a sudden there's a problem and these new guys come in and it's like, uh-oh, now what? They're uneducated about my business, but I'm certain that, they're just trying to mitigate their loss as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
makes perfect sense. Okay. Anything else, Justin, you want to add?
Well, the last thing that I'm going to talk about in my presentation at Started Up Smart is just the importance of having good business contracts. Every business needs clear, detailed contracts for, there's employment, independent contractor agreements. Most businesses have employees or contractors. Mm-hmm. Most businesses have vendors that they're buying products or services from. every business has some type of client agreement. They're entering into agreements with their clients and customers.
Yeah.
If those agreements are clear and detailed and there's not ambiguity, and it talks about what happens in the cases of disputes or who's liable for what, and if all of that's clearly spelled out, then when problems arise, we have a contract we can look to, and that will help avoid court. It'll help avoid a lawsuit. It will define what needs to happen. It makes things a whole lot easier. It typically avoids a lawsuit. So just having contracts in place that are well drafted can go a long ways to just making liabilities go away in the future.
I couldn't agree more, my friend. No, I could not agree anymore. I'd really love to have you back and maybe talk about an operating agreement one day. I think that's one of the big deals that I look at as far as liability, potential liabilities for partners. And of course, like you said, let's keep it clear, put it on paper. Everybody knows where they're at, and versus, having ambiguity or just people not knowing, what's going on. So, well, Justin, I really appreciate you here today. I appreciate you giving us your time. Folks, listen, if you don't have an attorney, you should have one. If you're in business, you should have one. Stuff happens, and you need to cover yourself before it happens, not after. I've said this often: the best money I've ever spent is with an attorney before there's a problem, and the worst money I've ever spent is with an attorney after there was a problem. So anyway, folks, prepare your business, prepare yourself, because it can happen. I'm not saying it will. I've been in business a long time, and yes, I've defended myself in several lawsuits, and you know what? I won, but here I am. It happened. I wasn't expecting it, and I had the attorney, I had the agreements, I had everything in place that you could possibly need. Reach out to Justin if you have a need, please. And of course, he will be at the Started Up Smart conference on September the 12th, single day event, all about you, the viewer, all about you, the attendee, and helping you with your business, up to and including, yes, legal, and Justin. So, Justin, any last words?
No, Joe, I'm just really excited for this event, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk again about operating agreements or any other legal stuff. So
yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right, Justin, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.
Yep. Thanks, Joe.